everyone. Thanks for coming back for another episode of Girl Talk and Shenanigans. I'm Marilyn.
And I'm Cynthia.
And Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and Cynthia and I were having a conversation a few days ago about how some people love Valentine's Day, like me and her, and some people think that Valentine's Day is just stupid or kind of cliche. They think, why would my husband buy me flowers on Valentine's Day out of obligation instead of just buying me flowers or a gift any day of the year?
They're supposed to do both.
Yes, that would be very, very perfect.
Exactly.
If they would do that. Most men don't, so if you have one that does, that is great.
Yes.
Treasure that.
I know, right?
Yes. And Steve used to buy me flowers randomly, a lot more than he does now, but
So
that's
did John.
understandable.
Yes.
You know, whether life gets busy or, you've just been married so long, like they don't think of it anymore, but...
Yeah, because you used to get, like, flowers from the florist, right?
Yes.
Now I'm lucky if I get the grocery store flowers.
Yeah. I mean, we're not picking no more. We're happy.
I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We're happy with Costco roses.
Oh, heck yeah.
Costco flowers.
Yeah, Rayleigh's. We'll take it all.
Yeah. But you know what? When you work in an office setting, like that's when it really matters because you're kind of at your desk and you're watching the florist truck pull up and then
we're all like,
yes. And we're like, are those flowers for me?
Yeah.
Please let them be for me. And then the receptionist comes walking back and you're like, oh my gosh, I love those flowers.
Yes.
Those could be mine because my husband knows what my favorite flowers are. And then they walk towards your desk and then they go past you and you're like, no, those were supposed to be for me. So anyways, it got Cynthia and I talking about all this stuff Valentine's related.
And love and then we started talking about, do you remember your very first kiss? Long ago was that very first kiss. But I was, anyway, we started talking about it and I was thinking about it and I'm like, oh my gosh. So my very first kiss was, and he wasn't even a boyfriend. And it was just a guy that we're friends. We were friends and I had a girlfriend. I was at her house. And I don't know why this day or this afternoon seemed like a good day to learn how to kiss.
Have your first kiss.
Yeah. And he kind of it wasn't kind of even my first kiss. It was almost like he taught me how to kiss.
Before you even started.
Kind of telling me.
Oh, that's cute.
I didn't even know what to do. Right?
Yes. I mean, most people don't.
We didn't have the internet back then.
No. You just had to figure it out.
You just had
wing it.
Exactly.
You make it or break
you
it.
just learned from friends.
Yeah.
Or somebody taught you, right? So he kind of was my teacher, I guess, to say about my first
kiss. That's so cute.
And I guess I got lucky because I think he was a really good kisser.
Oh.
And at least I had a good kisser teach me, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't know because I just thought everybody kissed that way.
Yeah.
That's how you do, like a mushy kiss.
Yeah.
Not like a peck, but
I call it a
one.
juicy kiss.
Okay, juicy kiss. That's a good word, yeah. And anyway, so then probably, I don't know, months down the road or whatever, I went to a friend's birthday party, and it was a guy, and his parents were home and everything, and it was just, our little group, and they were playing Spin the Bottle. And I'm like, oh, spin the bottle, okay.
That's fun. I never played.
Because I know how to kiss now,
I'm an old pro. I learned last month.
Yeah, exactly. So what I learned from Spin the Bottle was that everybody could kiss good. Oh my God. Yeah, there were some that were so bad. We were so grossed out. One guy we called the vacuum cleaner.
Oh my God.
He
just slurped your whole face in.
It was disgusting.
Ew.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Oh my
then I learned, so some people don't know how to do it right. And some do.
Some
right?
do. So you're probably really appreciating that your first kiss was a good one. Because you didn't know that they could be bad.
No.
Oh my gosh.
You're
so lucky.
I was lucky because I will say throughout my life, it was always kind of like, ooh, you're a good kisser, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess I had a good teacher. So thank you to my first guy that kind of taught me how to kiss.
Maybe he's watching.
Back in the Stone Age.
Yes, right? Thank you from her.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah,
my
how was
first.
yours?
I mean, honestly, like I'm just kind of jealous because your first kiss he was a good kisser. He even taught you how. Mine, I didn't know what I was doing either. But the funny thing is that I thought I would feel really comfortable with this person. It was somebody that I never really hung out with in high school. But I ended up running into him at the Sunrise Mall when I was out and about one day, and he ended up asking me to go out on a date with him. Well, this was literally my first date. I had never been on a date before, and I'm
like, how old are you?
Incriminating myself. I had graduated from high school, so I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was the summer of my senior year graduating, so it just...
Oh, going into your senior year?
No. I
after
was
graduated.
Yeah, I graduated high school, ran into this boy at the mall. So we're talking, I graduated in June, and so now it's probably like August, September or something like that.
You've never kissed a boy?
No, unless... Kindergarten, Jimmy Kane.
That doesn't count.
Jimmy Kane kissed me on the cheek when I went to go get my
count.
pencil. But no, I had not had my
Wow.
first kiss yet.
Wow.
So I was kind of a late bloomer. I was a really good kid.
Good for you.
I, wanted to do everything properly and,
That's awesome, though.
And my dad was a little intimidating.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. My dad was the best dad ever.
Aw.
But I was so afraid that he was going to chase the boys off our property.
Come out with the rifle.
Yeah. Because a similar experience did happen. And
Oh.
maybe that'll be another podcast. Remind me when we bought our horse.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, but yeah, I was a little intimidated. I didn't know if my mom or dad would get mad if I went on a date or I had my first kiss and I talked about it. So everything was a little bit kind of hush-hush, but
Yeah.
I did end up having to tell my mom that I was going on this date with this boy that had asked me out that I ran into at the mall. So my mom was like, okay, So this boy picked me up and we go to dinner, and then after dinner he's like, do you want to hang out some more? And I was like, sure. I was having a good enough time, hanging out with him. So I was like, what do you have in mind? And he goes, well, let's go to the Folsom Lake. And that's only 10 or 15 minutes from my house. And I thought, oh, that would be fun. We all hung out at Folsom Lake. It was a beautiful place to just hang out and chill, listen to music. My family used to go boating there every summer. So I was like, yeah, let's go to Folsom Lake. Well, I didn't know there was this spot that he had already picked out, and he went straight for it. And I'm like,
he knew where his little makeout spot was.
yeah,
huh?
it totally reminded me of those movies where they got make out point or look out point or
those
something.
convertibles.
Exactly. And he had a Jeep, so it was in a way, it was kind of cool because you felt really connected with nature.
Yeah,
open
the doors.
Yeah, you could open the doors and you
you
pop the top or whatever.
Nice,
But anyways, so we had been talking for hours, so it wasn't like he just went for it, which would have been awkward, because I was so nervous still. But anyways, there's not much to tell because it was the worst thing I'd ever experienced in my whole life.
Aww.
And you thought that everybody kissed really good.
Yeah.
And in my mind, after my experience, and the only way that I can really describe it is if you just imagined somebody dropped a wiggling slug in your mouth. That was literally what it felt like. So in my mind, I thought, this is terrible and disgusting. And if this is what a juicy kiss is, I don't want no part of it. I was just this is gross. And so, honestly, I was so glad that we had waited a couple hours because now I'm oh, goodness, it's getting close to my curfew. You better take me home. And the whole way home, I didn't even barely want to swallow. I just wanted to go home and brush my teeth.
Yeah, use some Listerine.
Yeah, I was brushing my tongue and
oh my God,
gargling with mouthwash. So, anyways, that was a terrible
was your first kiss. So,
experience.
Did you have some other first dates that just didn't do it for you?
Oh, first dates. Okay, well, the funny thing is that I went on a date with this guy, and he was really cute, super cute. And we went to this really nice restaurant in Sacramento. It was called Shenanigans. It was an Asian fusion. I'm not even sure if it's there anymore. But he was all dressed up, and I was all dressed up, and I'm still very young, right? And so he comes and picks me up, and we go to dinner, and we were sitting across from each other at this cute little romantic table. It was just a really dark, the ambiance was super, super romantic and very kind of like mature, like, and we were very young, you know,
because that is kind of like a fancy restaurant.
Yeah. So I felt like I was like on my best behavior, and I had to, you know, like use all my proper words and my etiquette that I'd learned, you know. And so I was like, wow. And this guy was just a couple years older than me, so I was like really intrigued by him. And but I noticed right away, like, he loved to talk about himself.
One of
and
those.
like, yes, and it was just like, gosh, like, I feel like I know every single thing about him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know anything about me. So I kept thinking, like, maybe at some point I will, like, be able to, like, interject, or maybe he'll catch on that he's, like, dominated.
I've said nothing.
Yeah. He's, like, completely dominated the conversation. And then I'm just sitting there, like, my whole plate was almost empty. But he's, like, still eating because he was talking so much. And he was, like, telling me the story about something. And then all of a sudden, oh, and I forgot to mention, he talks with his mouth full, too, which was really gross.
If he's talking while he's eating, because, like you said, he's eating too, and you're eating, but he's holding the whole conversation.
Yeah, and
right?
he would talk with his mouth full, and sometimes he would, like, put his hand over his mouth. But, like, it's not good etiquette. Yeah. Like, don't eat while you're talking. But he did. And while he was talking, he spit out a hunk of food that, like, flew across the table. It landed right next to my plate. And I was, like, kind of horrified, because it was, like, half chewed up. And, like, it was so gross, right? So I'm just thinking, like, he's going to grab his napkin, and he's going to, like, say,
I am so sorry.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, you know?
Yeah, like, I'm so sorry. Like, that's kind of gross. Like, my bad, you know? And, like, scoop it up with his napkin and, like, ask the waiter or the server for another napkin or something. No, he reaches over, grabs the piece of food he spit out, and puts it back in his mouth and finishes chewing it, and then swallows it.
That is
And I was like, oh,
gross.
My gosh. Like, I literally thought I could get over this guy, like, talking about himself too much, but, like, spitting out a hunk of food and, like, putting it back in your mouth, like, no. Oh, my God. So
that is horrible.
Disgusting. And then also, there was another time. Okay, so speaking of Folsom Lake again, me and my girlfriend, we went to Folsom Lake, and we were like, back then, you, like, laid down a beach blanket, and you had your radio. Sometimes they would even let you pull up your car, like, to the water, and we'd have our speakers blaring and our favorite music playing. And so anyways, me and my girlfriend had stayed out there way longer than we should. So everyone starts to leave, and so we're like, I guess we should pack it up, you know? It's like we're going to be the only ones out here. So we start loading up my car, and we start to turn the car around. Well, like, the tide started coming in, so the sand was getting really, really mushy. And so as I'm trying to get out to go back to the main road, my cart got stuck. And so there was this, like, yellow VW bug, like, off in a distance. And I'm like, I don't see another car or truck for, like, you know, a long distance, right? So I'm telling my friend, I'm like, we need to flag that guy down, because I don't want to be stranded out here.
Right.
That was way before cell phones. So anyways, we ended up flagging this guy down, and he comes and rescues us, and he was with a buddy, and they had their sunglasses on, and they had their cute board shorts on. And so anyways, they were like, do you guys need help? And we're like, yeah, my car is stuck in the sand. And so he was like, no worries. He's like, I got a tow hitch, and he, like, climbed underneath his little VW bug, and he, like, hooked it up, and he totally pulled us out of the sand up to the main road. And I was like, thank you so much. And so anyways, he was like, hey, you know, like, would you want to, like, grab dinner sometime? And actually, I thought he was so cute with his glasses on. And I was just like, yeah, I'll go out with you. So I gave him my phone number. And then we made plans to go out, and we did. He picked me up. We went out to dinner, and then his house was not very far away. And back in those days, it wasn't as scary as it is now.
Right. Yeah, and you don't go to their house now.
No. And I would never let anybody pick me up for a date either.
That's true.
Yeah, it just
we
seems...
do the meeting thing.
Yeah, like, I'll Uber there, you know, but it was just a different time.
Yes.
So anyways, I'm like, sure, I'll go back to your house. We can hang out for a little bit. And he seemed like a really sweet kid. And actually, his dad was well known in the area, because he had kind of name dropped, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's not going to want to do any funny business, because his family was well known and had a business in town. So it made me feel a little more safe, you know. Yes. So anyways, we get back to his house, and and not to be mean or nothing, but I'd only met him with the sunglasses on. So I thought he was adorable with the sunglasses on. But when he picked me up, I was like, he kind of had like shifty eyes. Does that make sense? Like beady eyes, they were kind of like shifty, and I don't know. It was like his eyes made me a little bit nervous, and so anyway, so that was just a little red flag. Like I was like, oh gosh, he's kind of got shifty eyes, but I'm sure he's a nice enough guy, right?
Right.
But then when we got back to his house, we were hanging outside. He was showing me his motorcycle and all this stuff that he had, and I'm totally into motorcycles. My dad had a Harley, and so I was like, oh, this is really cool. But then he totally like starts smoking, and I was like, I did not know he was a smoker. So that to me was like, and I don't mean to be judgmental at all for anybody that smokes. It was just not my cup of tea.
Right.
And the fact that I never smelled anything on him when we were at the lake or at dinner.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't smell it.
Because usually you kind of get a sense of something.
You do.
So anyways, if I ever had to say like dating deal breakers, it would be spitting out food on the table.
And picking it up and re-chewing it.
Yeah, re-chewing it and swallowing it and smoking. Like those, do you have any deal breakers? Like,
not really, because I think my childhood was so different than yours.
Right.
So we're like a generation apart.
Oh, yes.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So even though a lot of the things she does say, it does apply to kind of the same thing. Like I wouldn't go to someone's house back then or things like that. But so here she is having her first kiss at 17. And I'm literally married at 17 and having a baby at 17.
Oh,
so my whole teenage years were quite different.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And the first kiss that I had, that when we were talking about our first kiss, I was 15 when I had my first kiss.
Wow.
And actually, I was looking online about it, and it did say that the average age for a girl to have her first kiss was 15.
Oh, interesting.
So I was like, oh, well, at least I'm normal in that category.
Yeah, you are normal.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I literally thought you were going to say 12.
Oh,
or something
maybe
like
now
that.
It is.
Yeah, because honestly, like, it is shocking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I was bad
no
enough
judgment.
then. I was 17, But yeah, so I'm literally married. I had a baby later in the year at 17. So I didn't have all the dating experiences because I did get married to my high school sweetheart. So
oh, that's cute.
It was a guy in high school. So anyway, so it was very different than what she had. And
Very much.
Yeah, so I'm raising a child, and then by the time I'm 19, I'm divorced from him. So here I am now, a single mom at 19, and I just didn't go on a lot of like dates, I guess.
Right.
Because I don't know, probably my thought process is a lot different because I've got a child.
Yes, and you've got to be very selective.
And on top of it, I can't just get up and go.
Oh, that's so true.
I have to have a babysitter.
Yes.
And it has to be planned, and I'm working, and it's a whole process.
Oh my gosh, I just can't imagine like what a different lifestyle you had.
Yes.
Like, with your sweet boy, but then you've got to try to figure out a sitter.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So literally the first guy I actually went out with after I was divorced, I was working at a restaurant, and I met this guy there, and so I'm 19 then. Well, our first date was great, and I think he had asked me, like, what would you like to do? And he actually came up with taking my son to the zoo.
Aww.
And that was our first date. And I thought, wow,
what
that's
a cute
really,
idea to
how
include your
sweet.
son.
Yeah, that was super sweet,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So he kind of had me there already, right?
Yeah.
And he was just the sweetest guy, the nicest guy. We ended up living together for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so we were together for a long time. So I don't have, like, the stories of, like the first date.
Yeah, like going out with your
happened
friends and like meeting different people.
Right, yeah. And then I was with him for 3 years, and then I kind of broke up with him.
Why'd you break up with him?
I think I was young. I was really young because, when you look back on things, when you get old, you look back on things and you're like, wow, he really was a good guy, But back then I was getting bored.
Yeah.
And I was just...
Did you break his heart?
I did.
Oh.
I know. I feel bad, but, back then not so much.
Yeah, because you're just
I
like,
don't know.
it was how you felt.
That's
Like, you're
just
just like,
what I
I'm
did.
bored, and
I wasn't
You probably
ready to be settling down again.
Yes.
And he wanted to get married, and
Oh.
I kind of kept telling him I'm not going to get married again.
Right.
You know, for quite some time because I just didn't want it. So anyway, yeah, long story short, I did end up breaking up with them.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then I ended up going out with this other guy. And I was with him for like 3 years. So I don't have all these first
like
date
in
things.
between things.
Yeah, it was like when I went out with somebody, like I said, I had to give it like a good amount
Fair
of thought.
chance.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like just going out on a date and, you know, it was
Yeah,
just different.
you're like, is this guy worthy of possibly, spending time with me and your son?
Right,
And so
right.
then you had probably vetted them so much
Yeah.
that it ended up being somebody that you thought would be worthy of
Right.
keeping around for a
Exactly.
while.
And because it was such a hassle to try to get a date to go out by
Right.
myself, because I didn't have like a lot of family around that were babysitters just, on a whim. I didn't have that.
Right, and you're a single
So,
mom, and
mhm.
babysitters are like really expensive.
Yeah, on that on top of it. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it was harder for me. So it had to be like, if I'm going to go out with you, it needs to be worth my while.
Yeah, like make it worth my while.
Yeah,
Be a really
exactly.
good person.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very different for me and you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And me, like, on the other hand, like, I never wanted to, like, hurt somebody's feelings. Like, I always wanted to be like, I'm so sorry, like, this isn't working out. And, like, my breakups would last, like, a very long time because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
And so, like, for me, it was like this whole thought process of, like, how am I going to let this person down? Like, how am I going to, like, let them know that, I'm young and I don't want to be settled
Yeah.
down, like, so early because, like, hurting people's feelings is, like, the worst, right?
Right.
And, like, you were saying, like, now that you're older, you think about, like, how you hurt that guy's feelings
Yeah.
when he was, like, so sweet to, like, take you to the zoo with your boy,
And throughout the 3 years, he was super sweet the whole time. And so I had to do the whole, it's not you, it's me.
That really is a thing.
I really did that.
Oh, my gosh.
But it was true.
Yeah,
It really wasn't him.
totally.
It was me.
Yeah, because you're
You
great.
know?
Like, you're so much
Like,
fun.
you
and
are a great person.
spend so much time with my child.
And he did a lot of things for me. I mean, back then, I was broke, and he like co-signed a car for
Oh
me.
my
and
gosh.
he was.
Oh my
He
gosh.
was a really good guy. And of
What
course, when you look back on your life, you think, wow,
Gosh.
he was really a good guy, Like,
Yeah.
I was kind of dumb, but I was not ready.
No, and
I
that's the
just
thing.
wasn't.
Is
Yeah.
sometimes like a really, like the right guy or a really good guy comes along, but
Yeah.
you're just not at the point in your
Yeah.
life where you want to settle down.
A lot of relationships is timing.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Like,
It's so
am I
true.
in the right part of my life when I meet this person to settle down or whatever, have
Yeah.
a child or, what to do all that. So
For sure.
it is a big timing thing, I
Well,
will say.
Yeah, timing for sure. And it's so funny too because I was thinking about when we were talking about like having like this cute Valentine's episode.
Yeah.
One of the things that had come to my mind is like when you're in school and so Cynthia and I were exactly the same. We were kind of boy crazy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we compared notes on this when we were talking about what do we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because like I would go to school
Yep.
like literally planning outfits so that the cute boy in the class would be like, oh, she looks really cute today. And I am pretty sure they never thought that. Like they probably weren't girl crazy. They probably didn't even think I was cute.
They're
but,
all
like,
into sports.
yeah, they're like playing sports and like they've got a basketball game
Yeah.
tonight or whatever. But like for me it was like everything. Like I wanted to like get to school so I could see the cute boy
That was
and like
me.
what am I gonna wear and what should I say and like all this other stuff. And then I love that Cynthia was the same way because sometimes I have friends and they're like, I didn't have time for boys. Like they were stupid and they were gross and they like stink and I'm just
No.
like, no, I thought they were like so
you couldn't wait
handsome.
for a certain class. 'cause
Yes.
you knew you would have that cute boy in that
Yes.
class. I was like, oh my God, that's like your whole day is just waiting for that class.
Yes.
I know, that's how I was.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
Serious.
Crazy.
I know. Okay, so I wanted to throw this out there
gosh.
that it was so strange to me that there was a couple of boys that I went to school with. I'm not going to say what grade it was. We were quite young. But they were just not the popular boys. They weren't very like attractive in a very striking way. I'm trying to be very eloquent. I don't want to besmirch anybody, but you know, it's so funny how as time goes by, people change, right? So there was these two guys, like I said. One of them I ran into at church, like probably 2 years after I graduated.
Okay.
Now he's in the Air Force, and I hadn't seen him since I was probably 13. And he comes into church, and he's wearing this Air Force uniform. And I was like, who is that adorable guy, right? And I'm thinking he's a new member, you know, because I did not recognize him at all. So I'm like, I wonder where he's gonna sit. Maybe I'll try to sit by him, you know. And I'm watching him walk down and find a seat, and he sat with his mom and dad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is, I'm not gonna say his name, that is so and so, and he was so handsome. I was tripping out. I mean, like, he looked like Tom Cruise, and I've always had a crush on Tom Cruise.
I think we all did.
I was flabbergasted. So it's so interesting to me, like, how some people, like, you go to class and you're, like, all excited for the cute boy to notice you, and you have no idea that the boy that you're not even really thinking of is gonna grow up and look so freaking handsome.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this, how we felt like high school was, you know, it's like your life. Your, you know, everything is high school, right? And how the guys, you know, they keep growing and growing up. Where I think us girls mature a little faster. Yeah. And, well, maybe not you so much.
I'm still silly.
That's okay.
I still act like I'm 12.
I wish I was more like you when I was growing up, believe me.
I just stretched my childhood out.
But I think I noticed things like that was when I went to like my high school reunions.
Yes.
So like, you know, at the 5-year reunion, everything's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's like the cute guys are still cute. The jocks are still kind of jocks. You know, the guys that aren't so popular are still not so popular. You know? It's kind of all the same. And then when I went to my 20-year reunion, that was an eye-opener to me.
I bet.
Because I'm like, wow. Like, the guys that were, like, the popular dudes, and they were the jocks, and they were, you know, the
quarterback of the football team.
Yeah, they were all athletic and all that. And I'm not going to say all of them, but a few of them. Yeah. I mean, they were the ones that had gotten overweight, and they had kind of lost their hair, and they weren't the cute ones anymore.
Oh my gosh, right.
And the ones that weren't so popular, they probably studied a little harder and got better jobs, and you know, and they had like grown taller and cuter, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was like the not popular guys now are the cute ones.
Yes.
And it was weird.
Yeah, no, that is so strange.
It kind of like went backwards.
Yeah. No, I totally
very different for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and too, like, when I think back to, like, the high school age, I mean, we're all going through some awkward stages, right? But for girls, at least we can, like, style our hair. We can do our makeup, you know? And so for, like, the guys that weren't so popular and maybe, like, had a chubby phase or, like, the awkward bowl cut phase or, you know, whatever.
Their mom cut their hair.
Mom cut their hair. Like, I remember even, like, the 8th grade, like, Justin Bieber's haircut was popular when I was in the 8th grade. Yeah, like the, like, kind of, like, comb-overy, like, hang over your eyes kind of look. And so, to me, it's like, for us as girls, like, we could do makeup.
We can morph.
Right? We can morph. Like, we can do stuff. But guys, like, they're just gonna morph how they morph.
Yeah.
And so, for them to make a transition from, you know, a little bit more of an awkward, chubby, whatever phase, like, and they just, like, shed all the baby chub and, like, grow up and they're got that
super
chisel.
Super handsome. And
One of the other guys that I'd gone to grammar school with, he ended up being a realtor, and he came in to my office when I was an escrow officer, and he opened the door, and I saw him, and I was like, I knew right away that was who it was.
Yeah.
And I was flabbergasted. And because I went to a small school, it's kind of like we were all like, felt like family. It was a private Lutheran school. And so when he came in, I was like, you know, I'm just me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, hi, like, how are you? And then I was like, in my mind, I'm going, oh my gosh, like, he's so handsome. And then he was just, if I could say he reminded me of anybody, he like grew up and looked like Kevin Bacon. Like, literally looked like Kevin Bacon. And I always thought he kind of had a little sexy look about him, you know, in the movies and stuff. Footloose or whatever. Wasn't he the guy in Footloose? Yeah. So anyway, so I'm like, hi, how are you? It's been so long. And he's just like calm, cool, and collected, like just trying to be all professional. And I'm just like, okay, I feel like a dork.
Like, and who are you?
Oh my gosh, it never even dawned on me that he might have been like, who the heck are you? Because I'm like acting like I know who he is.
I know, right?
I mean, yeah, because now I'm wearing makeup and
your hair's
my hair's
different,
totally
probably.
different.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he might not have even really realized who I was.
Only because my husband tells me that he's ran into girls like at doctor's offices or dentist offices, and they're like, because my husband does look very similar to what he looked like in high school. Because, and most people knew him because he's Chinese, but he's 6'3".
Yeah,
so there are
tall.
not very many people that are 6'3" and Chinese.
No.
So he is recognizable, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway.
And his deep voice.
Yeah. He has a very
he's
deep
very
voice.
memorable.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's been a couple times that people have come walking up to him from high school and said, hey, you're John. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, oh my God. And the one girl even said, well, you probably don't recognize me because I've gained some weight since then.
Oh my gosh. I thought it was because she got prettier.
Oh no, the other
no.
way. He said she was like the cheerleader, like the really cute girl that probably he lusted after. I didn't say, but he probably thought of, oh gosh, she's super cute, you know, or whatever.
Yes.
And now she was like kind of round.
And
had 3 kids and was
and
married.
That's so hard because you don't want to make them feel bad that you don't recognize them.
I know, but she broke the ice because she said it for him.
Yes.
She's like, well, you probably don't recognize me, but I'm, you know, this person or whatever.
Right.
And literally just the other day, a guy came up to him, and we were at a Christmas party, actually, you know, a few months back. And a guy came up to him and just was chatting away with them, and then after the guy walked away, John's looking at me and he's going, oh my God, I had no idea who that guy was. Did you remember that guy I told you about that I used to work with like 10 years ago and I went to high school with him? And I go, yeah. He goes, well, I didn't recognize him 10 years ago and I didn't recognize him tonight. And again,
Really?
he was like a jock in high school.
Serious?
He said he was like a swimmer, and he was like the cute guy,
Yes.
you know, that all the girls loved and
my
all this. And he
gosh.
said, not so much anymore. He goes, I didn't even know who the heck he was.
Did the guy like actually say like my name is so and so that John would remember?
I think it kind of came back like we worked together at,
Oh,
you know,
like
blah, blah,
piecing
blah.
the puzzle together and kind of
exactly.
trying to figure it out.
And so he was pretty kind of flustered when I walked up because he was like, oh my
Struggling.
God, I just went through this whole thing, you know, when I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out who this guy was.
Oh my gosh.
So
people do.
People change, you know, we
Yeah.
all change. Some of us age well and some don't. So, you know, it was just funny to me that
Yeah.
the jocks didn't
Always
so much.
age.
So well.
The best, right?
Yeah.
Well, and
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny.
It is, because I think, like I said, for us, like, we can learn how to do our makeup, and we can, you know, do our hair, and,
Yeah,
like,
we
you
can
know.
embellish ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, some people even do plastic surgery, like,
Yeah,
you know,
nah,
but.
we don't do that.
No, I don't want to touch anything in my face, but yeah. So one of the things that I wanted us to talk about was our very favorite Valentine's Day ever. I thought it was be a really cute way to like wrap up our Valentine's episode. And so when I was talking with Steve the other day, I was like, you know, Cynthia and I are going to try to like dig deep and try to like figure out what our favorite Valentine's Day ever was. And he's like, do you have one? And I'm like, well, actually I have 2, but I decided to pick the one that I'm going to share. And so this was in 2006, and I was about maybe 5 months pregnant, 4 months pregnant, and I had gotten the day off early on Valentine's Day because ironically, they scheduled my ultrasound to figure out if we were having a boy or a girl
Oh, wow.
on Valentine's Day.
Wow.
And it was so cute, too, because when they threw out the date, like, we've got this day available or this day available, I was like, oh, no, I don't want to go to the doctor on Valentine's Day. But I was like, wait a minute, this isn't like a doctor's appointment where you're like, oh, I hate.
Super great
Yeah,
surprise.
like, this was going to be like finding out if we were having a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, let's schedule it. So it was at like 3 in the afternoon. So I got to get off work early. And Steve and I met at the doctor's office, and so we found out we were having a boy. And the funny thing is that secretly, I wanted a boy first. Like, we had talked about having 2 kids, but I wanted the boy first, and then I wanted to have a girl. Of course, we never had any more, so we ended up with just 1 boy. But besides the point, we were both secretly so excited to have a boy, but we didn't say anything to each other. We just said if they're healthy, they got all their fingers and toes, we're good. Yeah.
Right.
But as soon as she said, oh, it's a boy, I was like, yay! And Steve did the same thing, and I just looked at each other like, oh my gosh, you're busted, right? Because we had kind of found out the other one wanted a boy too. So anyway, so then after we find out we're having a boy, Steve had made reservations at Ruth's Chris for us to have dinner. And it was at the Galleria. So there's like a whole mall right there. So we had the most amazing dinner at Ruth's Chris. Like you said, it's like the best restaurant ever. And then we went inside the mall and we went to Baby Gap. And we looked through all the tiny little clothes in the blue section, and I got the cutest little Baby Gap outfit for his coming home outfit.
Cute.
And like literally, that was like my favorite Valentine's ever because it was just, and also too, like on Valentine's Day, you never know what the weather's going to be like.
True.
Because sometimes it's like storming
Storming
outside.
bluster, yeah.
Yes. And this day, it was like gorgeous.
Oh.
I remember just wearing like short sleeves and little capri pants with some espadrilles and just feeling like what a perfect day this was between the weather, finding out what we were having, going to Ruth's Chris. Like, that was my favorite Valentine's Day ever.
That sounds amazing.
Right?
Yeah, super amazing. And I know we had talked about what was my Valentine's Day that I loved the
I was so
most,
excited
right?
to learn what hers was.
Yeah, and I don't have one.
Surprise! I don't have a favorite Valentine's Day. I'm like, you've been alive this many years, and you don't have a favorite.
I don't, because I get gypped every year. So my birthday falls on the 12th of February, and Valentine's Day is 2 days ahead, right? So
I know where this is going.
I get comboed every year, no matter what boyfriend or husband it may be. It seems to be a combo
I'm
thing.
so sorry.
So, so I will say, my husband John does always, give me or we do something for my birthday on the 12th or near my 12th, or something for my birthday. But Valentine's Day just kind of gets pushed aside because it's kind of like they've already celebrated me.
Right.
And I guess they feel like, well, I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, because we just celebrated.
We just went
to dinner. I just got you a gift.
I just took you to Las Vegas or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do 2 things.
Right.
So I get maybe some flowers. I usually get some flowers. I usually get like something good for my birthday. Then I get the grocery store flowers for Valentine's Day. And a card, a nice card or whatever.
Yeah, because John is very thoughtful that way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's not going to not do nothing.
No.
But it's not like earth-shattering.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just not something memorable.
I'm sorry.
I don't, honestly, I cannot think of anything that, like pops in my mind.
Yeah,
like
that you're like, oh my gosh.
Like this was like the best, Valentine's Day
so
ever.
memorable.
Because I think with all my boyfriends that I'd had or whatever,
right.
It was the same.
Yeah.
It's my birthday and Valentine's, so it was always a combo. So yeah, I've been gypped my entire life.
I'm so sorry. I do understand the gypping, but it doesn't affect me as much because our wedding anniversary is July 27, and then Braden was born July 29. So for the first, we were married, I think, 4 years before we had Braden. So for 4 years, we celebrated our wedding anniversary. And we would, like, do really fun things and buy each other kind of elaborate gifts and stuff like that. But then as soon as Braden came along, especially, like, the first birthday, we made that, like, the social event of the season and did this, like, whole carnival theme where we, like, had a concession stand built over the island in the kitchen. And so from that moment forward, when you do a party for your child that big, like, you feel like you have to top it every year. Yes. And back then, I wasn't working. I was a stay-home mom. So I had all the time in the world to come up with all these elaborate ideas and, like, you know, DIY all this stuff myself to save money. And I do the invitations. And so, anyways, because I was going through so much, you know, trouble and work, which was out of love, obviously, but spending all this time on Braden's birthday, like, our anniversary just got, like, pushed to the wayside. Yeah. So I totally understand the whole combo thing.
Well, and I will say I do get an anniversary because the anniversary, we planned it that way, though. We planned that our anniversary would be, or get married in October, because there were no other, you know, like, holidays.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, there wasn't, like, a big birthday coming up. There wasn't any, you know, other people's big events or whatever around it.
To, like, compete.
Yes. So I will say, so at least I do get an anniversary.
Well, there's that.
So I get that, and you don't get that, and then you get Valentine's, and I don't get Valentine's.
Right? Okay, so it kind of evens out.
Kind of combo together.
Yeah. We both have our little combo thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you know how I always love statistics.
Yeah.
And I always, like, even when we're watching TV and I think of something or something triggers a thought, I'll, like, Google stuff.
It.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, I wonder how many people do that or if there's a statistic about this. So anyways, when we started talking about, you know, Valentine's Day and the first kiss and all that, I was trying to find, like, a really fun statistic. And I didn't find a statistic. There was no numbers. But this is what I thought was startling, is that more people vividly remember their first kiss over losing their virginity. I was shocked.
Yeah, that is shocking, but I get it.
You do?
I totally get it. I think, and only maybe because you had a bad first kiss.
Yeah.
And I had a good first kiss. I think that your first kiss isn't so, like, huge, but you remember it as, like, oh my God, that was the first. I mean,
your
I remember
first interaction.
Yeah, like that I really kind of was with the boy or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of people, maybe the first time that they lose their virginity, it's not always so great.
So maybe they just want to, like, forget about it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people maybe struggle. It's
Right.
not, you know, but of course, you know, if you have a great experience, then it's wonderful.
Right.
And so, of course, that would be, you know, the number
That would
one,
stand out.
Yeah, the number one thing
Yeah.
in life or whatever. But I get that statistic.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I think, maybe.
Right,
maybe
right.
not so much
Yeah,
you, but
no.
I think that way.
Yeah, because I'm waiting to find out, you know, I think one of the things that I Googled was how many people have, like, a great first kiss. Because when you and I were talking, I was like, wow, mine was terrible.
Right.
And, like, yours was, like, so good.
It was
and
like, yeah.
and I was shocked because I'm thinking, I just assumed everybody's first kiss was just
bad,
a train wreck, you know?
right.
So then just looking through these statistics, and I was just like, what in the world? So, you know, that's what makes the world go round.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're
Right,
all
we're all
different.
different. Yeah,
We all
exactly.
have different things that stand out in our
Yes.
mind, and so
Yes.
anyhow.
And it is fun because me and her are so different growing
Yes.
up and different things. So just like she was saying, like, wow, you know, it's so interesting to hear, like, what you were doing at
Yes,
this
at
age
17.
and what I was doing at this age. You know,
Yeah.
where I was, like, literally, you know, grown up and, you know, taking
have
care of a house
responsibilities and a
yes,
baby
and
and
trying to all that stuff.
And
you
I'm
know?
trying to
And
figure
she's,
out how
like,
to
going into
kiss.
second grade or something.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's just a tiny
She's trying
age
to figure
difference.
out how to, you know, write her alphabet.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm trying to figure out how
Oh
to
my
feed
God.
a baby, you know? Oh my gosh, it's
But
so
anyway,
funny. And
yeah.
we're learning a lot about each other,
I
you know,
know,
when
right?
we're doing these
Yes,
episodes or
we
podcasts
do.
together, because I'm like, I had no idea. Like, that's a crazy statistic in itself.
I know, right?
Well, anyhow, we just appreciate you guys,
Yes.
like, coming and hanging out with us and spending, you know, that half an hour, 45 minutes with us. And we just encourage you guys to, like, follow us on social media. We're at Girl Talk and Shenanigans Podcast. And please, you know,
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Please
and-
subscribe. It helps us a lot.
Yeah, and we hope that you have a wonderful Valentine's Day this year, because you know I'm going to be comboed, so
Right?
whatever.
Well, and I hope I have a fun one. We
Yeah,
haven't figured
I
out.
hope you do too.
Yeah, we haven't figured out what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out.
Yes.
But I do have something very special planned for your birthday.
Oh,
so maybe
I
we'll
can't
talk about that on a
wait.
future podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
anyway, so
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
And don't forget to check us out on Wednesdays.
yes.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.